Hello everyone, welcome to Zyqual's admin setup for schools. In video 1, we looked at teacher level master, teacher status master, faculty master, department master, subject master, year group master, and class master. Today, we'll be looking at grade master, period master, teaching level master, and setup of user roles. So we will look at understanding the admin, vice principal, principal, HR, teacher, head of department, head of teaching and learning, student, and head of faculty. We will also look at adding a single user and multiple users to the system. So we will look at uploading multiple users using a spreadsheet file. Okay, let's now look at setting grades for teacher observations. So we need to go over here on the right hand side and we look for admin area and then we look for grade master. Now, some clarification. Do not confuse grade master with year group master. Year group is referencing the different year groups within a school. So for example, in a secondary school, you would have year 7, year 8, year 9, and year 10, and so on. But in a primary school, you would have year 1, year 2, year 3, and so on. So do not confuse grade master with a year group master. Grade master is referencing the result of a lesson observation after a teacher has been observed. For example, a teacher was observed by the principal and the principal thought the lesson was outstanding, so the principal will grade that lesson as outstanding. A head of department may observe a lesson and at the end of that lesson he feels that the teacher requires improvement, so the result of that lesson might be a requires improvement lesson. So let's go ahead and add some grades. So I'm going to click on the right hand side over here, add grade. And let's say I'm going to go for excellent as the first one. My second one is going to be good. My third one is going to be requires improvement. And lastly, I'm going to look for inadequate. Now the system will sort this alphabetically, so you don't need to add any listing orders. Now that's how you add the grades. But how will that look on the system once it is being set up fully and being used? Let's take a look. When the system is complete and you are going to be carrying out observations for teachers, for example, I am going to carry out an observation for Leon Pennycook. We have some criteria here for a particular lesson observation. When we carry out the lesson observation, we might look at each criterion and give it a particular rating. Now the rating is a reflection of that criterion, and this one might have a different one. So there might be a few mix and match in relation to the rating. So G+ in this case stands for outstanding, good, requires improvement, inadequate. So because of how this type of observation is carried out, we may not use a numerical system to decide on a grade. For example, if they get 80% outstanding, it does not necessarily mean that that particular lesson is outstanding, because weightings on each criterion may differ, and so it's not feasible to give a particular percentage performance grade and link it to a particular grading. So with these ratings, once we are finished, we will then look at it and make a professional judgment to say, I believe this lesson is an outstanding lesson, even though we have elements of that lesson that requires improvement. So in teaching, that's how lesson observations are carried out. There might be good elements, there might be outstanding elements, and there might be inadequate elements. Some elements are more severe, and if some elements are inadequate, then the grade for the lesson cannot be outstanding. It might be inadequate, or it might be requires improvement. So that's how the grading system will work. And we've just looked at adding the grades, and we've just looked at how it will be used in the future. So while we've not set up any observations yet, I just felt it necessary to show you this part so that you have an understanding of how it will be used later on. Now, let's look at teaching level master. So teaching level is referencing the level that the teacher is working at. So for example, a teacher teaching at a secondary school would be teaching at the secondary level. A teacher teaching at infant school will be teaching at the infant level. And a teacher will be teaching in a primary school will be teaching at the primary level. So that's pretty simple. So we hop over to the main navigation. We go to admin area. We then choose teaching level master. Yours will be blank like mine to start with. So you then add it from the library. You then click on add teaching level from library. And this school that I'm currently setting up is a secondary high. So you choose secondary high and click save. If for some reason some teachers within a particular school are teaching across 2 levels, you could then click add teaching level from library again. And let's say this teacher also works in a primary school. We click on primary and we click save. Right. Now this is the school setup area, but how will this look once the system is fully set up and running? You could hop over to users and roles, and you will need to assign a particular level to each teacher. So for example, if I'm looking for Noel Gauntlet, you would go to their personal info. You then hop over to the teaching level and you can choose the one that is appropriate to the teacher. Okay, and that's how it would work. Okay, let us now look at adding users to the system. But before we do so, we need to understand the user roles so that when we are completing the spreadsheet later on to do mass upload, we make little to no mistakes, as we will understand how to input the information effectively and what the various sections mean. So I am going over to the main navigation and I'm going to select user and roles. I am then selecting manage user and I'm looking for teachers. I am going to select a particular teacher so that we can view the roles and see what they mean. So taking a look down here, we have school admin or school administrator. This is similar to the role that you are currently performing. This person will be responsible for managing the system and ensuring that everything is right and running perfectly. We have HR, School Human Resource Manager or Personnel Manager. This is the person who is responsible for keeping track of all the teachers within the school, making sure their details are up to date and no incorrect information is there. We have the school principal who is responsible for running the school. They will have access to the entire system and will be able to see every teacher and every form of observation that takes place. We have vice principal. These will be limited access where they will be able to see faculties and perform observations as well as running reports. We have head of teaching and learning. This person will be able to see everyone in the school. They won't be able to change teacher details, but they are responsible for teaching and learning. So they can run every report within the school and also see every teacher within the school's performance. We have senior leadership teacher or SLT or a senior teacher. These persons have limited access as well, where they can see specific departments that they might have responsibility for, or faculties, depending on how the school run and how the principal wants to assign lead teachers to have responsibility within the system. We have head of faculty. So this person might have responsibility for a single faculty or two, depending on how big the school is and how the principal wants to assign these roles. We then have head of department. So this person can be responsible for one or more than one department. So depending again on the size of the school and how the principal will pretty much assign the roles. We have a class teacher, and that's pretty self-explanatory. We have a teaching assistant. This might be a person who supports a teacher in a particular class. We have student, self-explanatory again. We are not adding students this time around, but maybe next year we will start adding students for taking part in the appraisal process and so on. We have school governor. So these are people who will pretty much oversee the school. They will not have an information to any teacher, to any specific teacher, but they may have access to the reports where they can see performance in particular areas, but they will not have any access to school names, teacher names, or specific individuals. And we have PTA. Again, they may have access to the system, but no specific user information or details. They may just be able to see that teaching and learning is 80% good in this school or so, but no specific teacher teacher details. Right. So up here is where you put the person's name or email and you tick their role. You can choose the role here. If you choose any one of the roles that are not listed here, it will not work because you do not have access to do that. Right. Up here we have personal information. So this is where when you are entering a person details, you can click personal information and you can put their details in. So you can put their first name, last name, work email or personal email, address, where they live, their tax registration number, their teaching level, their qualification. Take a look at how the qualification is written. If they had any training in the last year, 12 months, the years of experience, which region they are in. For example, we could choose region 1. Cluster here is the same thing as QEC. So if they're in region 1, all the clusters are the QEC in region 1 is 1 to 15. So you choose the one that is appropriate for the school or matches for the school. Then you choose their faculty. Again, you can choose more than one faculty because this one teacher can work across more than one faculty. Then you choose the department or departments that they're under. You can choose more than one. I will explain this at a later date, so that's not for use now. You can choose line manager. Line manager is someone in the system who might be a head of department or the admin would be their manager. Teacher status, we understood this from the first one, and teacher level. So teacher level reference to, for example, a new teacher, a junior teacher, a senior teacher, a head teacher, a guidance counselor, and so on, depending on how the principal wants to define these. So let's go for a regular teacher. Their gender, their school name is already assigned, and down here you can choose the different subjects that they teach. For example, we could go for that as well. We could go for that. So one teacher might teach a lot or none, or one or two, sorry. Then you put their actual date of birth, and then you put their phone number, and you click save. So that's how, that's all the information that we currently collect on a teacher, and that's the information that we would put into the spreadsheet later on if we were doing mass uploading or mass onboarding. So I'm going to go back to teachers here, and I want to add a teacher to the school. So let's say a new teacher joins. we can then click add user. Put their first name, their last name, their email, their password. So you make a password for them and you choose a role that is appropriate to one of these down here. So for example, they are a teacher, and you put their details in and you click save. Once that is finished, you can then click on personal info and put finish filling in the rest of their details. Now to upload mass users, we simply go back to teachers on the manage user. We click import user list and we click download file format. So I'm just going to click on that. When the file downloads, you need to open it. When the file downloads, it will look similar to this and you will see the different fields. So I'm going to try and explain each field so that you get it correct. So we have teacher's first name, last name, their date of birth. Now the format for this is dd/mm/124. So that's the format. So this format here is incorrect. So this would need to change to match the format required so that it works. So I would change that to that. So that's the correct format. For the gender, it must be a single M or a single F in all caps. You type their email in for their work email. You type their personal email address in. Later on, we will use the personal email address so they can still access their files when they leave the school or they're no longer employed in the school. Now for the role, it is important that these are written in all caps. So if it is a teacher, you do it like this, all caps. Now for any of the other roles that are within the system, they need to be written in all caps, just like how they are written here. So for example, if they are HR, you put HR. If they are principal, you put principal in all caps, just the same way how it is written here. So let's go back to the spreadsheet. So if this person was principal, you would do principal, and so on. If they are HOD, you do HOD. So it must be, the roles must be written in all caps. You then put the person's address. Now where it says region, region is defined by words with the first letter being all capital letter. So for example, if I go here, when you look at region, this is how it's written: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 regions in Jamaica, so that's how it must be written. So this will be consistent for everyone in the school because it's the same school. So we would do 1 for region 1, and if it was region 2, you would put TWO, just like that. But if you're importing people for the same school, it will not work if you make mistake and put region 1 at the top and then in somewhere else you put 2. It won't work. So you have to make sure it's consistent, because you can only upload for one school. So if everybody in this school would be in region 1. Now cluster stands for QEC, Quality Education Circle, and these are defined by numbers. So it could be 1, 1, 1, and everybody in that school would be in the same cluster. So this is how cluster is defined. In region 1, these are the clusters are QEC. So sorry, these are the QECs, 1 to 15. If I change this to region 2, then the region 2 clusters or QEC are from 16 to 22. So if they don't match, it won't work. Right. Now moving on back to the spreadsheet. Tertiary stands for the institution that they attended, the last one that they got their qualification. You put their tax registration number in. Teacher level should reflect what you had set up in your school, and then qualification, you can write it like this. And over here we have an example of the different qualification, so you will know what these mean, or should know what these mean. So there you go. Back to the spreadsheet. Training the last year, you can put yes or no. Years of experience, you can put how many years they've been teaching for. You put their head of department or the person who is responsible for them email address here. Most times you can leave these blank and fill it in later on the system, like choose who their heads of department are. But if you know already, you can always put the heads of department email address here. You then choose their faculty. Please make sure you do this correctly, because you're going to have lots of people ending up in the wrong faculty if you do not put the faculties correct. So they must be written exactly like what is in the system. So for example, this says creative technologies. So let me check if this school has a creative technologies faculty. So yep, there's a creative technologies faculty. So you could then, this would fill in for you automatically. So back to this. And under the creative technologies faculty, we have the technology department, and then this person teaches 2 subjects from the technology department. They teach food technology and they teach computer science. Notice we separate them with a comma. So if you were in, or one person is in more than one faculty, you could actually separate it with a comma and then put the next one. So that's how you fill it in. If the person is currently employed, you put yes, and notice it is in all caps yes. Teacher status must match the teacher status that you had set up in the admin area. So for example, for this school we have these ones, then it should match exactly one of these in the spreadsheet, at least for each teacher, so that the data is correct. Teacher level must match the teacher levels that you have within your school. So for example, we have teacher level here. You can choose the one that is relevant to the teacher and write it into the spreadsheet so that it will match what is already built into the system. And the date again here is wrong, so it should be, let me just write this here, it should be dd/mm/year with 4. So we need to do this, date and time, don't need the time, like so. So it should be like this, and then you put a password for them. So you put the password here, and do not give everybody the same password, otherwise people will log in as other people if they happen to know their username, and then you encourage your staff to change their password. Once you have completed your spreadsheet with the users, you need to go back to user and roles over here, manage user, teachers, and then you click import user list. You then choose file to allow you to choose a file. So if I go to the one that I've completed, then you click upload. When the file is there, you then click upload, and the system should accept all the users that are within your spreadsheet. The system will tell you if anything went wrong, like those who were imported properly and also those who were not imported properly. Have a go.